Happy Tuesday to you.
Happy Tuesday.
It's Tuesday night, right? For you?
No, Tuesday morning, 11 o'clock. I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, okay. I thought you were out on like New Zealand time or something like that.
No. Jeez. And I'm Australian, so.
Oh, man. I just stepped all over that one, didn't I?
No. New Zealanders are much nicer, so it's actually a compliment.
They're good people all around that part.
I know. I'm only giving you a hard time, but Kiwis are very nice.
Been catching up on my sailing channels now and then. It seems like everybody's sailing around those parts these days. Bouncing between Australia and New Zealand and anywhere they'll let them cross a border. And Josh, I saw your request. I'll get those put in there after the meeting.
Cool. Yeah, it looked good.
It's always promising. The more people that say it, the happier I am. Because my expectation going into this was we would get to the end and then everybody would just like start fist fighting and going for their proposal. If we get to the end, everybody's like, yeah, it looks good. Let's propose that one. I'm like, whoa, okay. That would be a good solution.
Lucky, look up behind you. There's jellyfish. It's very dangerous.
The best way to get immunity is to get stung by them a whole lot.
Interesting.
And I can, interesting theory. That's how they make snake antivenin. They do it with horses. So they actually inject just a little bit and then they get it up to really full doses, then grab the antibodies out of the horse's blood. And that's what you get if you get bitten by a snake.
Did the horses sign up for this? I just feel like
I don't know how the opt-in consent worked, but
where's the line on animal abuse? But
I think they do it very measured.
Sorry, we're just
me being a clownfish.
Jellyfish and stabbing horses. That's all you need to know, Steve.
Yeah, are jellyfish like fair game? Are they kind of like the rats of the world, or I don't know?
Jellyfish are incredible animals. They've been here for a long time
like,
before
it tastes
us.
awful.
Yeah. But even like deer, like if it wasn't for Disney, like deer on Long Island are like big rats. Like people want you to kill them.
Yeah.
So it's just
poor deer.
Anyway. Didn't know what I walked into there on that one.
The jellyfish.
Okay, but where's the clownfish reference? Is there clowns in there too?
Well, you know, it's okay. Sea anemones have stingers, and clownfish are immune to them, so they live in it. So I figured if I live amongst jellyfish, then I'll be immune to their sting. Yeah, then I'm a clown. Yeah, exactly. Beat me to the punchline. Okay, we'll kick it off here in a sec. Would anybody like to be note taker or chair? I'm happy to chair.
I can take notes.
Thank you, Nisha.
We've only got the one today, right? Anybody else have other topics they want to bring up after this? Speak now or end up having me run over.
If there's time, I was handed an anonymous proposal from someone who does not want to step forward for some reason. So,
okay. Hi, Dan.
Hello, not me. I have no idea what Josh is referring to.
Not Dan. I will not speak. They for some reason think it will be shot down, so they don't want to post it. So,
are you posting it on their behalf so we can review?
I can't really disclose.
Geez, I feel bad. I put
I don't know
up
what
a proposal and then like nothing from that proposal took down. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, you got a promotion, Nisha.
What am I promoted to?
I would like to think that all these proposals are coming through the working group and we're not ousting individuals for their specific proposals.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I
kind of the
think
idea, but it's okay, Josh. Like we don't have to
that's okay. Yeah, I'm not like
non-disclosed
precious
proposals.
about it either.
Yep. You can do it
It-
on behalf of doing business as DBA, Josh, doing business as Josh Delitsky.
It took me
Um,
a long time to convince people that proposal D wasn't something that I actually wanted myself. So I'm probably still convincing people of that.
Okay, shall we get into it? So you add that, Josh, to the agenda proposal. I think we're up to F now.
We might need to start calling it Foxtrot so we don't feel like we're making it failing grades.
Yeah, either that or we can go to Greek, but there's less letters there, as we found out.
You're gonna stay
Um,
behind or ahead of COVID symbols.
You've got to start adding primes. Okay, let me ice cream flavors, exactly. Endless.
Before we begin, can someone be a backup note taker for me? Because I don't know when I'll be called by the sick kiddo.
Okay. Could anybody help Nisha out on backup note taker? Okay,
I can do so.
oh,
Go ahead.
okay. Thanks, Josh.
The
I can
more
take
awkward
it when
silence,
you're
better.
presenting
you,
the other
Josh.
proposal too, Josh. So just let me know. Okay, let's
Yeah.
kick it off here. Hello and welcome to the OCI Working Group for Reference Types. Today is Tuesday, April 12th. Lovely to see everybody. Today we have 2 agenda items. I've dropped the link to the agenda and meeting minutes in the chat there. Please go ahead and add your name to the attendees list. Thank you very much, Nisha, for volunteering to be our note taker. Really appreciate that. And for Josh Delitsky to be backup note taker. We'll get into it. First, we have Brandon presenting proposal E, and I already see your screen, Brandon. So thanks for coming prepared. Pass it to you.
Yeah, it takes me a minute to get all the chat windows up and everything else. So I figure I'll start early. Yeah, so this is kind of trying to pull together everything we've been discussing so far in A, B, D, and there's even a little bit of C in there. So we haven't completely lost it. So yeah, this is trying to pull them all together. I'm gonna probably go with this view. I think it's a little bit easier to read. So this is the cherry pick proposal. And so I am adding another media type in there. That was one of the things that came out of A was we're looking at that saying we probably want another media type because image spec felt a little too constraining for certain use cases. I am defining a reference type, so that got pulled in from B where we're saying let's add a reference type to existing objects, but I only put it on the new media type that we defined and the image manifest. I didn't put on anything else. So that avoids a bunch of looping concerns. It's not going to go on blobs. It's not going to go on arbitrary digest or on arbitrary descriptors, and it's not going to go on the index because the index could potentially give us looping issues. And let's see, defines annotations for filtering. So I know that we are looking at artifact type and making that like a first class level object in there. When I went through and tried to figure out all the different logic in this, I couldn't come up with a solution where artifact type would be everything I wanted. And I figured if I can't have that be everything, then I'm gonna have to support both filtering of artifacts and this artifact type, annotations and this artifact type. And if I'm gonna have to do both, why don't I just make artifact type and annotation, just do all the filtering annotations and simplify the whole logical, how you do the filtering and whatnot. So that was where that change came from. And let's see here, it does define an API, but if the API doesn't exist, I fall back to the digest tag syntax that we were talking about in proposal D. So that's kind of where we pulled all 3 of those together into different things here. And so let's see, the idea here is that we're gonna have an upgrade path. And so registries that start today with nothing else, no API, no media type or anything else, you push your object up with the image manifest. That's how OCI defines their artifact today. And you push the digest tag, and anybody else that can query that can query the digest tag, pull it down, pull the artifact, and we now have references without doing anything else. So we've got this as of today. It should just work if we do this. The only thing holding us back is just everybody to agree that's how we want to do it. Once we've gotten past that point, then registries want to start upgrading their stuff. We still want to have compatibility between registries that have the new capabilities and registries that don't. And so I still want to push up the image manifest. It's going to be extended though. It's going to have that reference type in there. So you can still have the API for the references, query that. And so we can find these references quickly using the API. You'll get some speed benefits there. But we still have the backwards compatibility when you copy this artifact to a registry. It doesn't support the new manifest. Well, we're still pushing the image manifest. There's nothing new in there. You push the digest tag. You don't even need to have the API. Things just work as you move from registry to registry. So you have that backward compatibility going there. So this intermediate stage is while we're waiting on all the registries to upgrade. And then once we've gotten everything upgraded, then you can switch over the new media types for anything that needs it and get all the benefits you had out of what we're doing there. So far, so good. Any questions? Feel free to stop me in the middle or even raise your hand. That works too. And I would say also, if you have questions that you want to hold to the end, you don't have to hold them to the end, but if you have them that you do, throw them in the notes, and that way I can kind of look over there. We'll pick them up that way as well. So here are the modifications. I need to sort some stuff out, but I had a couple of extra annotations in here saying, here's the artifact type. Pulling in from proposal C, I put the description in there and then the created timestamp. So I think those were some different annotations that we were looking at from different places. Got all those included. I was trying to go through and look at maybe other stuff that was in the config today. And the only thing I could see that might be useful is the platform might be useful in there for some use cases. So I wasn't sure if we want to pull that up. And the other thing I was looking at was, do we want to take all the stuff that's out there today that is org open containers image star and maybe find a more generic name for that? Since we're trying to push generic artifacts, maybe there's some stuff up there that says it's an image right now, but it will just make more sense as like, this is for a manifest or this is for an artifact, and artifact be the more generic thing we're pushing up there. So something to think about. I don't think it's something we need to agree to from this proposal, but it might just be something that we propose up to OCI after this saying, hey, if you like this, here's a little side PR that we want to merge as well. And let's see, anything else in there? Any additional things? Feel free, throw them out there. We can always add more of this. This is a free form list, so we can always extend this if we need to. JSON schema here, if we look at the image manifest, so this is the original OCI image manifest. All the stuff up top is pretty much the same. Annotations are the same. The reference field is the one thing that's new. And then the annotations, this would be the annotations for the artifact itself. And so anything you put in like the artifact type, that would go down here. And then the reference field, like I say, that is new. And as long as we're following the OCI's extensibility requirement that we add a new field in there, I think we're okay in terms of forward compatibility and not breaking registries, as long as the registry doesn't do any kind of filtering in there. Jason, I see your hand up.
Oh yeah, this was a comment from before about the annotations. We may also want OS version, which occasionally comes up, but when it comes up is important.
Is that for like under platform, or is there like a third field? Fourth
Under
field
platform, there's an OS. It's really confusingly called os.version.
Okay.
Even though it's not a subfield under OS. Anyway, it's for like Windows.
Yeah.
Versions.
Okay.
It's either they are. That's all though. That's not a like blocking comment.
Yeah.
That's just something else
Yeah.
we should have.
All right. Lucky.
Given that you're defining some annotations here and annotations are optional, would it be necessary to make these required annotations if you are putting a reference in? I'm just wondering, what's the dance here and how do you do validation that you indeed have an intact set of metadata? Because these seem load bearing. I don't know if they are or if that's your intent, but if they're outside the reference object, do we need to do anything special and say that you must have these annotations if you have a reference field, or are they purely optional and in order to enrich? Because I can imagine if you're doing any filtering on artifact.type, if that's not present, you can't obviously do that. So I'm just wondering about the play of, objects in the specification and non-required untyped annotations.
My take right now is that this can actually be optional. And so reference itself, that's kind of the one thing you absolutely need to throw in there. The digest tag, you'll absolutely need that if you're on a old registry, and that gives you the link. But once you have that link, if you say query all the artifacts out there without any filtering, you'll just get all the artifacts. If you're filtering and you want to be seen in that filter, you're going to have to put the field in there that someone's going to filter on it. So you need to use the right label in there. But if someone has some other use case where they design their thing completely differently, I don't know that we need to say that they have to follow our specific syntax in here to be able to work as long as their client knows how to filter for it on their side. I'm willing to take differentiating views there, and it may make more sense when we get down to the filtering section too. Thoughts?
I was starting to get into it, but I think you're right. It probably helps in the filtering section because that's where it becomes the critical point.
Yeah. Okay. We'll revisit that one. And it's a good question. Because I think a lot of people, I think it should be at least a should at a minimum. Let's see. So yeah, we talked about the image manifest. It's going to have the required reference field in there. This looks pretty much the same as we've seen before. I am pulling up annotations. That's kind of a debative subject there. But if this thing is referencing something else, you could potentially pull up those annotations for filtering. Yeah, if there's a need to in there. And so that's kind of the question of where do we need to pull it up? Where don't we need to pull it up? And I'm trying to think right now if I actually need to do it in this one or not. I might not actually need it right there.
Brandon, I don't know if you see
Yep.
the hands. Is the assumption there in that section that you're pulling up the manifest annotations so that, for instance, artifact type would show up there? Like, so if I had that reference was,
Yeah, see this being an artifact, the artifact type should be down here because this is the artifact type. The reference would be, here's my
oh, I
image
see what you're saying.
manifest.
Sorry. I'm
so
thinking the filtered result list, the result of the.
Yes,
Never
and
mind,
in that
never
case, it
mind.
would be.
Right.
But right here, I might have said pull up a little bit too soon. I might not actually need them right here, but we'll see. Jason, you got it one?
Yeah, anytime we talk about pulling up annotations from other things, like tools can do this, tools should do this, but what if they don't? Or what if, one case is what if they don't pull up an annotation, but even worse is like, what happens if they put the wrong annotation value in?
Yeah. Let me start with the assumption right here that this was a typo or a braino.
Okay.
And so we don't do it right here. These annotations are the ones you're actually attaching to the artifact. And below, I actually do need to pull them up, but it's not the tool that's pushing the artifact. It's the tool that's generating the manifest list.
I see. Okay. So it's never up to a client to make sure that they copy correctly and completely all the
Correct.
annotations from one thing to another. That's up to the registry.
It's up to the registry.
Yeah. Okay. I feel a lot better about that. Thank you.
Yep. Good points, though. All right, so here's our new media type. I just called it artifact manifest. I think I copied that from proposal A. I put blobs in there. I put annotations in there. These are the annotations on the artifact, and blobs are optional. There is no config, and these can be unordered, ordered, just depends on what you need in here. Sorry, the blobs. Unordered, ordered, just depends on what you need inside of the blobs. And the reference, of course, it's optional to have a reference on your artifact, but more than likely all the artifacts are going to have a reference to whatever they're for, but you could always push up a standalone artifact that doesn't have one if it didn't need one. Jason, what you got? Or is
I
that
think my
still
hand was just still up. Sorry.
still
about
hand? Okay. All right, let's see. So the API, I kind of copy this. I didn't use the OCI extensions. I just said, let's make it. We've got like a tag list. We've got manifest. Let's make references and just kind of follow within that scene of OCI. If you query this and it doesn't exist, I'm pretty sure all registries are going to come back to you with like a 404 or something like that. We can just double check that part and make sure what that error code is going to be if it doesn't exist. But if that's confrontational, we can always put it back under the extensions proposal. I just figured this was something big enough OCI I could just say, here's what we're making. And for this, the output that I'm getting is an index. So I was basically a little bit too lazy. Didn't feel like making a whole new media type for this. So I just piggybacked on an existing media type. Thought that might be a little bit easier on some clients that already had this structure already. And so they pull in an index and they've got a manifest list in there. And then annotations might be some metadata the registry gives about the stuff that it has in there. And then these annotations are generated from the registry. These are the ones that are pulled up. And so that's kind of what we're getting at. So we'll have the ice cream artifact. Maybe you'll have a chocolate, maybe you'll have vanilla. Maybe you want to filter and say, I'm only interested in the chocolate ice cream. You can do that kind of stuff in a bit. We'll show that. And so I'd just say, for a given reference, and this could be a tag, this could be a digest, show me everything out there that has a reference pointing to it. And the registry comes back with this magical list. If we need to paginate, have multiple pages returned, you can say, give me up to N, and it'll cap it in. I kind of think there might be cases out there where we're worried about these manifests growing too large. If someone dumps a whole bunch of junk into an annotation, that maybe the registry can return less than this. But that would be up to the registry to say something along those lines. If it does do something like that, we'll always have a link. And so that link HTTP header, kind of the standard HTTP way we've seen in other parts of OCI of how to say, grab your next set of results over there, just follow that link and pull it out. And yeah, so we'll just get back multiple indexes from that list. I'm not sure if Jason has a stale hand still, but I just saw Lockie's go up. So
That's a new
take
hand.
Lockie. Okay,
That's a new hand.
go ahead then.
Can you scroll up a bit to, oh, I remember. You mentioned that ref could be a tag. I think we should prefer to only accept digest there and make it up to the client to resolve that tag to the digest as a separate operation.
Rather than letting the registry do it for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want people to get used to looking these things up by tag because it has subtle semantic differences.
I'm always happy to start there. And if in the future people want to relax that, then we could always make that a future decision too.
Yeah, it is easier to only support digest and then expand to tags later than to support both from the outside.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
great.
I see thumbs up on that one. So good call out. Lockie?
I was just going to ask for this API that you're proposing here. Does it matter if the index is constructed from the new manifest or the existing, references field that you're adding to existing images? Does it matter to differentiate how this
So-
is constructed? Because you could have some of it be, from the references field that you're adding, and you could have some of it from the new manifest.
This annotation section is going to come from, whenever I look at one of these images, the annotations of the artifact. So that's going to get pulled up. But otherwise,
And
this
on the new
artifact
manifest
here-
type, where is that? Is it coming from the annotations from the
Same.
Same thing.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't change any of that. I kept them identical. Otherwise, just going to say, hey, I've got a new artifact manifest. It's got this digest. It has a reference to X. And so you query X.
Mm-hmm.
You say, give me the stuff for X. It's going to say, here is the image manifest or the artifact manifest down here with those annotations. The artifact manifest has this size, this digest. I think all of those things are going to be generated. There's nothing in there from that references thing other than just figuring out that that X was what you're referencing that has an effect over here.
From an example, you might want to make that step one an artifact manifest, because I think that's what you were suggesting, but it actually doesn't say it there. So
Is
the
that,
idea is it
was
can
that the question,
return-
just saying artifact manifest? Is that where you're going, Lockie?
Yeah, I think so, because I'm trying to get to how do you stat how does the client understand if it has that new manifest API on the registry? Does it have to just try and push and generate it and then say, oh, I don't have that? Or if you
Yeah.
query this endpoint, do you get, well, you only
Yeah.
see things from the reference of images, or do you see them coming from, you flattened it out, so it's not.
My thought process right now is you're going to push your artifact up. You can query this API and say, hey, did I get a response back from my artifact that I was pushed? Yes or no. If it comes back and says 404, I can't find it. That's when you're going to say, oh, this registry doesn't have it. Let me push a digest tag now. And so that's a way of doing it. There could be other ways we could query the OCI extensions field, and maybe they'll throw an extra thing in there that says, hey, this supports new features over in there. There are a couple different options we can come up with, but the simple kind of ugly one is just to query to see if your reference comes back and gets returned.
I think when you push to a registry, you push to a manifest, the registry has to know, like there's relaxation of blob media types, because mostly it doesn't matter. But the manifest registries do need to know, because they know how to parse them. So if you try to submit a Brandon manifest, the registry is going to I don't know what that is, and give you an error back. So you would know there whether you can continue or not. You don't even have to ping the referrers API, but I think what you're suggesting is if you support the referrers API, that you also support the new manifest type.
I would hope so in that case, but if you push up an image manifest that has a reference in there, I think one of
Oh,
the
I see
questions
what you're
Lockie
saying.
might have been raising was, how do I know if this is enough or do I need to push a digest tag as well?
But if the
And-
registry supports the referrers API, would you even push an image and a digest tag, or would you just use the new manifest?
I would still want to push the image manifest for a good long while, just knowing that I might want to copy this artifact to a registry. It doesn't support it. And so I want this artifact to be portable.
Do you consider round tripping those?
What do you mean by that?
You could round trip an image manifest or an artifact manifest for at least one level deep.
What do you mean by round trip though?
If I pull from registry one, right, for the promotion scenario, I pull from registry one and it's an image manifest. Well, I'll go the other way. So I pull
It's an
from
artifact
registry one, it's an artifact manifest, but I'm pushing it down to something on-prem, something that's been sitting there for a couple of years. And it doesn't know how to stand, it doesn't know how to process that. You could downgrade it to an image manifest and then push it as a tag.
I can,
Your
but that
round
downgrade
trip-
would change the digest.
It would, but for a reference, for the first tier reference, it doesn't matter. Because
What
it's-
if I want to query and say, does this registry have all my references on it right now? I would have to do a lot more deeper inspection on all the stuff that I pushed to keep, if I'm doing a mirror update or something like that.
I'm not following that.
If,
What I'm
if
suggesting
there's
is if you
a,
have a signature, like let's just say it's a reference type, right? It literally is
Mhm.
one that's got a subject. You never actually query it per se by the digest. You're basically saying, hey, is this the ice cream V strawberry, image? And you get all the references to that ice cream V1 V strawberry image. Whether the digest comes back as ABC or 456 doesn't really matter. So you can actually round trip them.
if I'm
round up.
synchronizing two registries together, if I'm setting up like a hand-built mirror, which is one of the things that I kind of do, I'll copy the image over and I'll see, does the image digest already exist in the target registry? Yes, no. And if that digest for the whole image exists, I know that I'm kind of done. I can skip to the next part. If I then query all the artifacts pointing to that image, I'm going to query to see, does the digest of that thing that I just pulled up already exist in the target registry? And then if that digest doesn't exist, then I'm going to copy that artifact over as well.
Basically, you're saying you'll never be able to do downgrade then.
It's a downgrade would be a lot of extra work in there where I'm going to have to do that same downgrade process and then recompute the digest on a downgrade artifact. So I have to pull that artifact every time I want to do that check, which is not pretty.
Can we move along to Sajay? Steve? Thank you.
What you got, Sajay?
There was a statement that I wanted to clarify, which was, do we need to push and digest or anything like that? I'm hoping we don't have to do any push operation because that would be different ACL sets, right? You want to make sure that the permission sets don't have to be worried. So just defining how a user can be like deterministic find out, okay, I don't have references. 404 versus empty list. Maybe adding that to the specification will definitely help. This is the way that we could define without having cross permission sets.
Yeah. And so the place that I care about that on is, so if I'm going to do a
Right.
get on the reference, I get back a 404. Okay, I know I don't have that. I need to go back and query the digest tags. If I am pushing an artifact up to a registry, I'm going to probably push it by digest first and then do a quick check. Do I need to also push that tag up there or not?
Okay. So the client is responsible for figuring it out, right?
Yes, in both
Right.
cases, yes.
Sounds good. The second question was, do you anticipate that, does the scenario require like one client to move content between two types of registries, ones that support the new manifest and not? Or are we kind of like saying that that is not something that we want to address with this? I'm okay either way. I just want to kind of like clarify what the spec is.
My goal right now is that as long as you think you're going to have registries of both types out there, you're going to keep all of your manifest within the old image manifest descriptor. And that will be portable across registries. And then you would only upgrade to this new artifact manifest once you know that all the registries you're working with, and hopefully all the registries your end users are working with, have been upgraded. Sound good? Okay. Yeah, so pagination, I think we hit a little bit on that. We got the link field. Filtering and sorting, I think, is going to be the big question here. The registry should support this filtering. And I'm just going to say URL code like a name equals value. I might want something other than just equal. I might want like a double equal in there because of some of the thoughts that are coming up here later on, which is, do I want to support less than, greater than, maybe some kind of prefix, other things like that. That might come into play of changing whatever this operator is in the middle of what that looks like. And whether registries support that or not, whether we want to allow registries to support that or not, we can chat about that. At least for right now, I'm just saying filter is name equals value, URL encoded, and that's your filter, and you can have multiple of these. If you do have multiple, then your list needs to have things that match all the filters. So it's everything all ended together. And let's see, they should support sorting as well. And so you'll be able to say sort by name, and then I want to figure out some kind of syntax in there of saying ascending, descending, because I think one of the big use cases is going to be show all the newest artifacts first and maybe make n1. And so you just get the very newest one by doing all your filters in there, sorting for n equals 1. And now you get that one artifact that just got pushed most recently. You don't have to filter through all the rest of them. Let's see. That's kind of my thought process there. Questions on filtering right now? We can probably go through and debate those later on. I think this is going to be, it's kind of thrown out here a little bit loose, but that's kind of the rough idea, is that all the filters can be done on annotation. So you can filter whatever you want to, whatever makes the most sense, depending on how that artifact was pushed up. So that's going to be a negotiation between the client doing the pushing and the client doing the pulling. They're going to know how those annotations were set on top of their artifacts, which, because that's kind of an agreement between those two halves, that's why I'm leaving it a little bit loose where it should put the artifact type in there. But if your client knows it's doing something different, then I'm not going to enforce that you have to put those specific annotations on there. But I'm open to debate. All right, digest tags, we've seen them before. I did go with the syntax that everything has to have this hash in there. So this is kind of the repository, and the tag is your algorithm dash the reference. I've got a unique hash in there, and I've got the artifact type in there. And so it looks like this big long SHA. I've got length limits on some of the stuff, so it's not too long. And then the type. What you got, Nisha?
So about the type, is that the same as media type, or is it?
I'm going to suggest we keep it short, something like SBOM, SIG, something like that, and keep those relatively generic. But I'm open to debate on that discussion.
So if this is SBOM, but the artifact type in the annotation is something else, which one do we trust? I mean, the reason I'm asking is, do we need a type?
This is hinting for the people that are doing a query by the tag list to know which things they need to filter at the next level. And I can't get super granular in here and put the whole world, but I can at least get granular enough that you can pull at least the right types of artifacts and hopefully cut down your search a little bit. And so if you're putting up bad data in your digest tag, well, you just kind of corrupted yourself in that case. I can only help you so much. So if they intentionally hide their reference, then yeah, I can't do anything there. If they intentionally put a bad digest, I can't help them with that either. But it's just kind of the goal is to help you reduce the search space that you have to look for to find your artifact.
Yeah, I am bringing that up because I get nervous about like strings and, relying on strings to tell you what you are downloading from the internet.
But this is just a hint so that when you look at the tag list, you know which you need to download. You're still going to have to download the artifact itself, and that's going to have the full manifest type and everything in there.
Yeah, but in order to, but you're still relying on some bits of this, like the hash must be correct. the digest must be correct.
Yep.
Yeah, so
It's
the
it's all
the-
user generated at this point, and this is just substituting in that we don't have a reference API in this scenario.
Yeah, okay.
So I wish there was a way to hard enforce it, but tags are all free form already. And so someone can put a fake reference in there. It doesn't really reference what they meant to. And well, you had right access to that repository. You should not put corrupt data in your repository you're breaking. I wish I had better answers, but that's about as close as I can get.
My concern is like downstream consumers who will be looking for certain tags, and if they find something that points to something else that they weren't expecting, I think
Yeah.
that was something that was addressed, like with the hash and the digest.
It's
I'm
going to be
just
the repository owner is going to be intentionally putting garbage in their own repository, though. So I'm hoping that if it's the repository owner intentionally putting garbage in their repository, that we kind of throw up our hands and say we did the best we could.
Oh, so you're saying that the artifact producer does not make this tag, it's the repository that makes this tag?
Well, it's the client that's pushing to the repository. So it's somebody that has right access to a repository.
Okay. Oh, so like if someone were to have, yeah, so it would depend upon who has access to the project repo.
Yep. Whoever's got push access there. Steve?
Yeah, I think what you're suggesting is that the client tools do this. Whatever tools that are trying to push the reference types would do this combination of stuff. There's nothing stops a user from using like an ORAS client to go, ORAS push, and then here's some funky log tag. But if I'm pushing a reference type, I say, here's the SBOM I'm trying to submit, and it does the right thing. It sees the registry doesn't support it, and it sticks in the tag. If it does support it, it would do the other approach.
Yep.
I think that's what you're suggesting, right?
I am. And this is all client-based. The registry doesn't have to have anything on its side to be able to work with this, which is kind of the whole goal. Lucky?
More of just a comment for Nisha. I think it's the digest tags. This is the single most challenge that we have right now. And I think it's an incentive to implement the new manifest type, because we do hear a lot of, hey, my tag listing is full of crap and I can't now see what's there. And so I think just, hopefully leaving the tags here and having all this string stuff is going to upset you sufficiently, Nisha, that you'll go and implement the new manifest type on your registry and say, well, we can do this way so that your tag listing isn't polluted. It's just the best way to jam it in right now, and supporting that in a standardized way. But hopefully this is enough incentive for people to go and support the new manifest type, and then you don't have to do this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day that we don't have to do this. So I still, oh, Josh put his hands up now too.
So I feel like the big value of this one is the upgrade path and kind of the compatibility. And I'm wondering if you can sort of speak to what are the primary differences? I think I see some, but for not pulling in the API used in proposal A and instead doing something different there. I'm thinking about like bridging the gaps here, and
why did I make all the crazy changes I made? Yeah,
just specifically to the registry API.
I'm going to hit on the digest tag changes real quick, and I'm going to go back up to the registry API because I did some on both. So on the digest, just real quick for anybody who's not familiar, you query, you're looking for everything that has a reference to your 00000. You'll do a tag list, find everything that's got that prefix, and maybe it's got the suffix you're looking for. And this little hash in the middle just makes it unique, and you just pull up all those tags. And then I'm just saying, put a digest tag for everything that's got a reference. Doesn't matter if you're put a reference in an index or put a reference wherever, just put a digest tag for everything. Now going back up to the registry API, up here in the registry API, I did move it over. The biggest difference I think I made was that I just made the filtering all based on annotation instead of having the separate filter on artifact type. I think that was the biggest difference of all that I made over there. And
But even
the reason,
the like the endpoint is references versus refers, and the output is an index, which I don't mind, but I'm just looking. I have A pulled up side by side here, and it's and then, sorry, while I have my mic on, would this list also include the new artifact schemas within
yes.
side by side? Okay.
So the media type would just have the new artifact media type, and then just throw that in there. Lucky?
I was just going to, riff off what Josh said, passing this through my own lens. It's referrers as to references, the dropping of the media type out of the descriptor, which I'm guessing Brandon did because he didn't want to change the descriptor itself. So he popped that down into the annotation. And, that API returning an index rather than just a collection of manifests.
It was less not wanting to extend it and more that I didn't get any value by putting it as a separate field. It just kind of felt like we were treating that one thing special where I wanted to just be able to filter on everything. And so if I was going to have to do that, I might as well just not have an extra exception for that one artifact type field. All good? I did
Sorry, Josh, were you finished? I don't know if Josh was finished. I was just.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. I think I could see them. I'm just, yes, I'm
yeah.
done here.
I did leave this annotations here. I said kind of optional, but I'm envisioning this is kind of the place that someone's going to come in and say, hey, I'm the registry. I just gave you back the results for these things. And so maybe if you query all these filters and do weird filters doesn't know about, it's going to say, here's a list. I gave you these filters and nothing else. And so maybe you look at this and say, did I see all the annotations I expected? If not, this list might not be filtered and I need to do client-side filtering on it instead of server-side filtering. That might be some of the value in there of having this stuff put down as just what the server comes back and says, hey, I just did this for you. This is what you're looking at.
What would be an example of a key value there?
I'm leaving that a little arbitrary for right now. But that'll kind of be up to us to come back later on and say, here are the fields we want to put in. Maybe that's just a base 64 encoded string, or maybe it comes up with a whole bunch of individual keys and values for different stuff. All right, so that's the goal, that we get to references with that API. The fallback is the digest tags that we can say this will work with the registry today. And then I've gone through already and kind of put a bunch of the requirements of what I thought that we are going to have the ability to do. Does anybody want me to talk about a specific one? Because I don't think we'll go through each one of these individually in 15 minutes and still have time to talk about other stuff.
I think Sajay has a question.
Sajay, what you got?
I added it to the notes. So the hash portion of the tag, right? That one is not collision free because when you move it from registry to registry, given how many hashing implementations I've seen, people would go index, like increment hash and whatnot. And if you do a signature in one place and then move it over to another, and you have your own signatures, those hash numbers are going to be unique. Is there a recommendation that you want to give that these hashes have to be, the uniqueness is up to the client to make sure that they don't clobber existing ones?
So this is the hash of your artifact, not your digest that you're pointing to, but of the artifact that you're pushing. And so it should be the hash of, let's go back to up here.
Of the manifest, I see.
Yeah, it should be the hash of this. And this should be something that's portable registry to registry. And so it's hopefully not going to be changing as you migrate this artifact from one registry to another. So that tag should be identical, should move it as well. By doing that though, keep in mind that this tag, we're only caring that this tag doesn't collide, right? We
Right.
don't care that this individual hash right here doesn't collide. We care about this entire tag colliding, which means you've got the reference that you're pointing to plus this hash. And so by having both there, I think the possibility of a collision between the combination of both of those is pretty slim.
I see. So the problem is like now you have hashing algorithm that is shorter for the manifest, and you have a hash for the first portion of the tag, right? So it's a little hard to get this right, is what I'm thinking. But we can discuss that more.
Yeah, I mean, the goal was I wanted to keep the entire reference digest in there, just kind of
No,
was
that makes
useful for
sense.
people.
Yeah.
But I did cap it at 64 characters. I capped the other one at 16 because when we were looking at D earlier, we were saying, well, what about this can only get so long before you start hitting length limits in the registry?
Right. And so it's like a short hash in that way. And it would be good to kind of call out how we got the short hash also, if you're going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're talking 16 to the power of, what is that? Power of 16, because we're talking hex. And so that's still a pretty big number there.
I think the whole point is it's actually only unique within that particular digest. Because what you're trying to do is say, I want multiple signatures, multiple scan results for a particular image. So as long as it can be unique within that digest of the zeros, you should be fine.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? Did I miss any in the notes? I had a couple in here that I said partial. Let's see if any of those were important here. Nisha, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't quite get understand the reply for Josh's question. Why change the API names from proposal A? Like why not referrers instead of references?
No hard limit there. The big change that I made was that I wasn't going with the OCI extensions proposal, which was like underscore OCI underscore whole bunch or slash 3 levels deep. I was just moving it there. And the main reason I picked references was because the field itself was called reference. And so kind of felt like keeping those two together logically made sense to me. But it's at that point of, if that's the only thing that people wanted me to change, I'm happy to change it. Okay, cool. I'm going to look down here in the questions real quick. Sorry for the scrolling. I know that's always fun to watch someone do and try to follow them. But the partials were down here at the end. So as a user, Nisha, I think this might have been your requirement. I want to apply a timestamp or numerical ranged artifacts. And so I said partial on that one, that you can put whatever you want in those annotations and then do filters on that. Right now, if filters only equals, that doesn't work. So we'll need some sorting in there. But I think we've got what you're looking for. If it's a digest tag, you just have to pull all the digest tags that match whatever you're looking for and then query within each one.
Yeah, this should work.
And then as an artifact author, I want to document artifacts from one or more registries that have my artifact and that my artifact requires or provides. So I think this was the cross-registry scenario. And so to go across registry, the references API is not cross-repository even. You've got to be in the same repository for the references API to work, just keeping it within what everything else in OCI is today. So that's what I got. That is a good question, Lockie. Josh, how much time do you need?
Considering it's not even submitted, I think we ought to stick on this topic, or I can bring it up next week. Actually, I won't be here next week, so I can, if you want.
Let's preview then. Should we at least do a preview of yours? Any last questions before we switch? Going once, going twice?
I think I just have one, and maybe it's not worth considering right now. I mean, what are the next steps with this proposal?
I say we just approve it and push it forward, but that I might be a little biased.
Yeah, I mean, I just, even if it's not a question that's answered right now, everybody should think now we're coming to the end of the proposals. I suppose Josh has one more for consideration, but then, you know, what are we going to do for this? Anyway, well, Josh, we'll give you the 10 minutes. Did you want to share screen or do you want to solve the prop F?
Yeah, no, I am attempting. So this was shared to me from somebody who wanted to remain anonymous because they did not feel that they thought this would be torn to shreds, and I told them you should have more confidence, and we're much nicer than you think. But anyway, it's basically based on Proposal B, and I talked to them about what are the primary differences, and there are the biggest thing that I could see is one is query parameters having like super advanced type of not equals, like Brandon was alluding to, so it's not just equals this. And then the other one was a sort of top level query. So what they were saying is that I think the quote was like, OCI makes things extremely hard for sort of an end user to, if I want to come to the registry and search for like this is saying like what anything related to chocolate or with chocolate in the name, I only have access to what's in the namespace, and everything we're designing around is around the namespace. And I'm already thinking like from a registry operator, like this is sort of, there's like a privacy concern and there's an access thing. And so this was really the big differentiator. So I can, you know.
Yeah. For the operators, what I was seeing in other places was they were saying where the equal was, they were just swapping that out with like greater than equal, less than equal, a couple other parameters in there. And so they had different things in the middle. That was me just jumping in without my hand up though. So Steve, I'll see the rest of you.
Well, this is the same thing we saw with Proposal B earlier. So if you scroll up a bit to where the result is, where they have the different ice creams that come back in the result, the manifest collection, the sorry. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if it's a lag. So if that's the result of the references, refers, API, whatever, the things that come back, what I'm confused about this is the media type in that manifest, that's suggesting there are yet newer manifest types as opposed to artifact types. Because I think what we're trying to say is I want to have we're not trying to have dozens of manifest support in the registries. It's we want to have maybe one more manifest type to be able to support the new functionality.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a few weeks, and I have yet to update B with that conclusion that we came to. But yeah, I'm sure this is for sure a copy of what's in B, and in B we need to change that to just be OCI manifest.
And then you got the thing that Brandon was addressing is like, well, how do I know which one's a signature, which one's a scan result, which one's yet a new thing we haven't thought about yet? So that's where the artifact type comes in, whether it's an annotation or property is, you know, a detail, but somewhere you want to surface that these are different things. So I don't have to pull all of them out of the registry and then figure it out.
I guess just so I can like fully understand the concern around something like this, like I understand the desire for something like that, but isn't this sort of almost not implementable, like from a open source? I mean, it's not implementable, but is this sort of out of scope for us?
Is that across repos or across registry? I got a little confused.
Just the whole registry. Like I want to ask the whole registry anything that looks like this thing.
I think searching an entire registry for stuff, whatever I have permissions to, is hugely valuable. But I think that those are on, I'm guessing those are on annotations, which yes, you would probably filter by media type also, but like give me all the scan results that, from within the last week, or things that are older than the last week or something to that effect. Or give me all the things in the registry that are images that are supposed to be deleted as of today or older, or so that I can purge them.
I think
Yeah.
Sajay.
Yeah, I think
maybe you wanna-
Sajay and Brandon are touching on something. It's like we need a separate working group just for search and filter, because this is more a meta issue of, do you want to
Right.
implement this kind of functionality in general outside of the scope of references? So I mean, this is going to have to depend on that, I would guess. But anyway, sorry, Brandon, you
Yeah.
go.
I got two things in there. I think I can get in 5 minutes here. One is that the query syntax there, the Q manifest media type contains, I think we probably want to change it to just field equals and the value, and that value has a bunch of stuff that gets extracted. That just makes it easier for all the different HTTP libraries to parse that apart. So still doable, just probably a little reformat there, but otherwise knowing in OCI how authentication is done, anything going across repository is going to be challenging, just because all the authentication is always, I want to pull from a repository, that's my credential, give me access to that. Once you say I want to do
Yeah.
something across all, I don't know what the authentication looks like anymore.
I think to like echo Sajay and Laki, like it seems like that's another group, or it could be this group, but it's the next thing that we solve. And all the proposals don't seem to like preclude this from happening in the future.
Yeah,
Right?
I
I
agree
mean-
with that, Josh. I agree with that.
Okay.
It's just at the moment, we're kind of just saying, leave it up to the client to implement. There's everything there to construct a search and filtering thing, but how you do it is up to the reader, an adventure for the reader. If you want to make that codified in a set of APIs that are server side, that can certainly be done. And then the clients can be a lot more, they don't have to deal with all that or implementing all that. And I feel like that's a discussion that could be possibly had.
It's a whole rat stuff. I mean, we've got petabytes of data in these registries. We can't just be scanning through all of them. It's like you want to index them and then know what 4 things you want to pull out of the gabillions. So
I think the interesting thing from this proposal is there any interest in that type and where we put the type, right? Because in the context of a single repository, maybe you want to say, I want to know everything that's chocolate in this repository, because you could have 50 SBOMs. Do you want to be able to send that to the API to get a list back, a very fixed constructed index back that's pre-filtered? Or do you want to say, oh, here's everything, you figure it out? Right
It's-
now we're
was
getting
that
into,
not the refers API or the refers API with an artifact type filter?
Cross repository though, if
Oh,
you want to do it registry wide, it's really interesting. I just imagine we get a lot of pushback from all the registry operators.
it's not actually the registry operators per se. This was actually, it's all clients, because basically it's a permissions challenge, but I actually don't necessarily agree. I mean, if you're deploying a Helm chart, or any kind of service in a Kubernetes cluster, you're trying to pull multiple images. You're assuming you have permission to those multiple images. The problem has been more of when I promote it across registries, do I want to store them in the same place? So how do you not enforce a strict structure that it's image 1, 2, and 3 in registry 1, and it's not image 1, 2, and namespace something image 3. So that has been the challenge there. CNAB went through all that struggles.
okay, let's wrap on time. I would, so you're not here next week, Josh?
No, but yeah, I'm wondering, I'm also curious where we go from here, considering we're done with proposals.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
are
I
there
think,
more
do you want to put
Frankenstein,
this proposal
Voltron?
in? Because this proposal could be
Well,
an artifact to say, let's spin up a working group on search and filtering. I don't know, later, at least it's been raised, I don't know. But for this,
I don't
how
wanna
about
take-
rather than putting everybody on the spot, let's go and think and jump in chat. What do we think?
okay.
What do we need to capture in Brandon's proposal of E to start thinking, like, is that what we're going to go ahead with? And has everybody considered it? Because I see a lot of people on this call. I want to make sure everybody's considered it, before we go ahead. So maybe it's just even a call to consideration around proposal E as to being the proposal we want to move forward with, and then ask anybody to request for comments.
And if people need time to do a discussion on the requirements, the rubric stuff, we can do that as well.
I will just open an issue on the repo about search and filter for the future. And
Okay.
we'll go from there. But yeah, that sounds great. I'm so excited that we got to this point somehow. It's April.
I'm very thankful this didn't turn into a knockout brawl.
Well,
I
let's
didn't-
iterate and close it up here. But I think a lot of questions were answered, and thank you for taking the time to walk us through Proposal E today, and all the people that walked through the proposal. So let's see what next steps, and let's just punt it out to a conversation and see what we can get on an agenda. But we should start to coalesce in a specific direction. So that is what I'd like to encourage everybody to start thinking about. What's it going to take to put our rubber stamps on this and ship it up to the TOB?
Awesome.
Cool.
Till next week.
Excellent.
All
Thanks,
right,
folks.
hold on. I just noticed Tianan's got a cute little Docker logo in there. Is that part of the new acquisition, or was that there before Tianan?
I've used this version of my logo a few times before, but it felt appropriate.
I like it.
Congratulations.
Kudos. Congratulations, Tianan. And I noticed it there too. And I'm like, was that always there? Nice
I haven't seen it.
observation, Steve.
It was very subtle.
I've got another version that's got a tiny version of the InfoSifter logo in there. And I think I've even got one floating around somewhere with the ARM logo in it that I used for something once.
Yeah,
You gotta
okay.
have a little fun, right?
Oh,
Just-
absolutely.
Like in the corner, just a tiny fun. Not a
Very
big
cool.
fun. No big fun allowed.
Big fun allowed, definitely
This is
allowed.
business.
Excellent. Well, thanks, folks. And I do, encourage the folks that didn't have a chance to speak today, that are on the call, that would like to provide feedback. Please do. We'd love to hear it. Okay, thanks, folks.
Awesome.
Until next week.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
I